Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show. We are returning once more for some predictions for the next weekend of Bundesliga action. So very much looking forward to another great show in store. As ever, joined on the line with my partner in crime, Mark. How are we doing tonight, Mark? We were just quickly chatting off air about Stuttgart doing a professional job, weren't we?
Yeah, obviously the early kickoff, so you can relax for the rest of the evening, Rory. After seeing that, it's always a good feeling, that early kickoff, isn't it? Because the nerves calm down a little bit earlier than normal. But yeah, definitely. I mean, mixed week for Bundesliga clubs. Obviously, Leverkusen getting through. Stuttgart getting through mostly through last week's performance, but obviously the big disappointment was obviously Dortmund, wasn't it? I mean, it was a real blow for the Bundesliga. It looked like we were going to get 3 teams through after last week, but they produced a pretty dreadful display, really, and what was a hammering in Bergamo, and now all of a sudden we've only got 2. And the crazy thing is those 2 sides could meet again in the last 16 too. So. Yeah, but I think the Europa League's looking a lot better, and even the Conference League. I think the Europa League, we've got real chances this year with Stuttgart and Freiburg, but obviously Champions League is probably going to be all down to Bayern again, isn't it, if we're being honest?
Yeah, indeed. We can talk Dortmund. Quite soon during the show. Of course, we've got the KLASSIKER coming up this weekend, so we'll get stuck into Dortmund very soon indeed, and lots of other big games. Before we do, just the usual bits of admin. If you can, please do like the show, comment your predictions if you're watching with us live or not, and sub to the channel. Be great to get your support. If you're a returning viewer and you haven't quite managed to hit that big red button yet, please do so, and then join our great community, as well as just a note to the fact that we're all across social media, as everyone is these days. You can find us on X, Insta, Threads, and Blue Sky at the Bundesliga Show, where we promote, of course, all our shows and try and do as much interaction on there as we possibly can. Bit of a note as well to our Bundesliga fantasy community. We will be returning tomorrow morning in the Friday morning slot, which Runa and I have settled into for now, just again because of schedules. So we'll be back at 8:30 a.m. UK time for another round of fantasy football with Runa. So look forward to that. But on with the show, and on with some Friday night football, Mark, and this has you have some vested interest in this one, so why don't you kick us off with FC Augsburg versus FC Koeln?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously an interesting game as well, isn't it? I'm not sure you could really call it a 6-pointer, but I mean, both of these sides still do factor into the relegation race. Obviously, FC are looking a lot better now after a very good run in 2026 so far. Last week being their 5th win already in the year, as well as a few draws on the board too. So it's been I think they've collected 17 points so far this year, which is a really good return. Well over half of their points coming in just the first few games of 2026. So they come in on form. The likes of Claude Maurice, Giannulis looking really strong. Obviously, Ribeiro getting his first goal for the club in his first start last week as well. He looks promising. Grigoric off the bench, who's always dangerous at Bundesliga level, especially in FCR colours, likes a goal or 2. So FCR coming to the game well and truly on form and looking good. But Koeln, I felt, also put in a good performance last week too against Hoffenheim. I mean, they scored 2 really good goals. Obviously, the kind of what would you say, the headline grabber with the Ache overhead kick, which was just one of the goals of the season, really absolutely wonderful strike. And then El Mahler as well, obviously getting on the score sheet. I believe it was his first goal contribution in 6 games, which is not much of a drought really, considering he's not a striker. But I mean, it was a little bit of a drought by his standards, but finished really well to earn them a well-deserved point really in a difficult game. So it's two relatively on-form sides. This one, obviously, FCR more so in terms of results. Koeln, I think, have been decent performance-wise, but ultimately aren't winning many games. That's the problem, and that's what informs my prediction in this game. I just feel as though the FCR are better at getting over the line in games, and we know that this is not the first season they've shown this level of this ability to just get over the line in games and win those tight matches. Even though the last 3 meetings between these sides have finished 1-1, including the one earlier this season as well, I'm actually going to go for the FCR to nick it here. I think we could see yet another FCR win. I've gone for a 2-1 home win here.
Yeah, some good points that you made there. I think, yeah, you're right to kind of refer back to those last 3 meetings being 1-1 draws, all of them. So that's something that kind of makes you think that trend could continue. Augsburg are a side that are, like you said again, results-wise, Augsburg are in form. And as you said, the Billy Goats, they rocked up against Hoffenheim and put in a good performance, but they are struggling to win games and they are struggling to go over the line. And when you play against a team that has that ability and that know-how like Augsburg do, I think that that informs me as well to call it like you have, and I'd agree with that same scoreline as well. So I'd lock in a 2-1 home win for Augsburg on Friday night. Moving forward to Saturday, starting off with Leverkusen versus Mainz. A game that both teams simply just need to win. Like we said, we're getting into the business end of this season, and most games are going to be, like that. So yeah, Leverkusen obviously need the win to battle back into the top 4 race. Naturally, with that game in hand, one thing that I have in my head is obviously, they got over the line against Olympiacos, which is great. Great to see them progress. And they're getting themselves together under Koeln and with this new team. But one thing I am very conscious of is the way that they disappointed against Union after that first leg match. And I guess there was more travel involved, so maybe that won't be as won't obviously be the case because they played at home second leg and they're playing at home this time, so that is less of a factor. But they have to be able to back it up, and mine simply just need wins as well. They're still right in the mixer from a relegation point of view. They need to turn results and into those positive points. But the recent results as well have gone Leverkusen's way. That thriller in the Hinrund being 4-3 to Leverkusen, the reverse fixture. I will call it the same. I'll say a home win. I will say, it's just about 2-1 maybe. There's going to be some tired legs for Leverkusen, I think, but they've got to show that they can go, and back it up. So 2-1 to the home side.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a funny week for Leverkusen, hasn't it? But I agree with you that there's been so much travel involved. I think a lot of people don't think about that, when they're obviously doing these predictions and things, because it's, they came back from Olympiacos, I think they played that game on the Tuesday night, was it? Or no, I believe it was the Wednesday night. It was the Wednesday night, and then literally they probably get a flight home early the Thursday morning, and then they've got to probably set off for Berlin maybe on the Friday at some point, So it's just, it's not easy. So that could have kind of filtered in some of the poor results that particular poor result. And then, the following Tuesday, they just kind of saw that game out, which sometimes you have to do. I mean, when you've got a lot of fixtures, you don't need to go like hammer and tong to win that game. So I wouldn't read too much into that 0-0 against Olympiacos. But as for this game, yeah, I mean, Mainz have also got a bit of pressure because they had that brilliant start, probably the first 10 games under Fischer. It was looking like they were going to go well clear of relegation, wasn't it? But the last 2 games, they've only taken 1 point from those 2, and that includes a 4-0 loss at Dortmund, and then, a decent point last week against an on-form Haas side. So it's not like they're in bad form, but they're not looking quite as good as they did a few weeks ago. I still feel as though Amiri is just absolutely vital for that team. He's played so well. And, we have seen Mainz go away from home and get some great results this season as well. Like they won at Leipzig just a month or so ago. They also almost beat Bayern as well. They ended up getting a 2-2 draw, but they conceded late in that game. But, they have got some good results on the road under Urs Fischer. But I agree with you. I think this is going to be Leverkusen's day. I think they'll be able to rotate a few players back in. Obviously, they've got a much bigger squad than Mainz. Will we see the likes of Malik Tillman? I'm not sure because he was injured, I believe, recently. Kafane, I'd like to see get a few minutes. I could see him starting this game and doing well. But I think overall, it should be Leverkusen's day. And we're going to sync up again, Rory, actually. I've gone for 2-1 to the home side.
Yeah, obviously some tight games that we're calling here. Evening to you, DM. Thanks for joining us and watching along. Hope you're enjoying the show. And by all means, share your predictions if you have any on these games. Next up, we've got a real dogfight to call here, Mark. Werder Bremen taking on Heidenheim. The real basement battle of this weekend, the 6-pointer, the huge one, last chance saloon, all the lovely things that you can describe it as. It's massive. You can look at stats, look at form, head-to-heads, either way around that I've looked at it. Both of them just plain and simply are just in awful shape. There's not much to shout about for either side. Obviously the big thing, I guess, that Heidenheim take from most recent times is that great entertaining 3-3 draw and almost a win versus Stuttgart this Sunday just gone, where they really put up a fight, put in some decent goals and show great character. Which obviously they're going to need against Bremen this weekend. Mark, give us your take on this one because I'm struggling to be able to separate these two.
Yeah, I mean it's the bottom 2, and it probably is the 2 worst teams in the division right now. There's no question about that. But this fixture comes at a good time in many ways. It gives both of these sides a chance to breathe life into their kind of failing seasons, really. In many ways. I mean, I think Peter and I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Are we at last chance saloon point for Heidenheim? I mean, we can't be far off it now. I mean, if they lose this game, it's going to be looking really bleak, the table, isn't it? Particularly if a few of the other sides pick up points down there as well. They're already 5 points adrift at the bottom. A win over Bremen would lift them to within 2 points of them. But, I mean, they've only won 1 away game all season. It was that late turnaround game at Union Berlin when they were behind, going very late on, and they scored twice, I think, in stoppages in that game. They're going to need some kind of similar inspired form in this one. I think, as you say, Dinci is the one hope, really, for Heidenheim. He has looked good, and he probably is ultimately too good to play for the FCH. Like, he should be at least a mid-table Bundesliga club, but obviously it failed for him at Freiburg quite badly. Ironically, Bremen's his hometown club as well. That's where he started his career. I believe he is a Bremen native as well. So that is quite an irony in that one. I mean, to be honest, they could probably do with him as well, in truth, after what they've served up. But I just think it's one of those games. Often these kind of matches, they do go with home advantage. And even though, those of you that watch the show regularly, that I don't really rate this Bremen team at all. I think they've got no striker. Obviously, they tried Gruel last week in the number 9 position. Didn't work at all. Who are they going to go with this week? Will it be Njinma? Will they even go with Schmid up top? Milosevic maybe could get a go, but apparently he's not really an out-and-out number 9 either. But let's see. But anyway, I am going to go for them to get a win here. I just think it's one of them home advantage. I mean, the Werder fans have got to back them because at times this season they've been awfully pessimistic games. They've whistled and booed the team off a number of times, which is not that common in Germany, by the way, as well, especially for home fans. So I am going for a 2-1 Werder win. But, I mean, it's more in kind of... It's just based on the fact that often these games do go with the home team. And I think a draw is unlikely because it's useless. In my eyes, a draw is useless for both of these sides, really. So I think if it is 1-1 going into the last 10 minutes, both sides have got to go out there and attack it because, let's be honest, neither of these teams are going to get a better chance of winning a game than this one.
Indeed. Yeah. It's a fair call. Like I say, I'm struggling to separate them. It's like you say, it's almost like Dinchy versus Schmidt, isn't it? In terms of the productivity that we're going to see from both sides, and then you've got people like Steg and Ibrahimovic that might feature for both sides as well. But yeah, I'm going to call it as 1-1. Like I say, I can't separate them, so I won't. So I think it could be one of those sort of results. Moving on to another Saturday afternoon game in free fall, another team in free fall, which is Borussia Moenchengladbach, taking on Union Berlin, who had been on a bit of a struggle of recent times until that excellent win against Leverkusen. So they'll be feeling much better about themselves and, even maybe hard thoughts about trying to connect themselves into the race for the lower down European spots. But yeah, that's obviously saying that we'll have to track a little bit more. In terms of calling this one, I think that, Gladbach have got to be a desperate side here to be able to beat a team like Union Berlin, who will not. They're not really sort of team Union Berlin that you want to play when you're desperate for a win, because I just feel like Union are the sort of side that just won't roll over for you, and so they're going to have to work so hard, be so on it. They'll need the likes of Honorat and Tabakovic to be well on top of their game, and they'll need to defend so much better than they have been for recent encounters. And Union are going absolutely fine. They'll be comfortable with where they are in the division. So with no confidence in the sense of that, I think Gladbach are playing well or that Polanski's doing a good job. I just think that they just have to win. And they have to win soon. So I think it might be on the weekend. That's a gut feeling, not based on any kind of form. I'll say 2-1 again. We've got lots of 2-1 so far, but yeah, that's what I'm calling.
Yeah, I think this is the first big disagreement we've got, Rory, for this one. I could totally understand why, again, you've gone for the home win, but I agreed with some of your logic that I just think Gladbach are not fighting hard enough to beat a side like Union, and while Union, they're not the most free-flowing attacking team you're ever going to see, we mentioned before that a lot of their forwards really edge in and out of form, the likes of Illich, Anza, Burke. Like, none of them are anything like consistent. They'll either be absolutely terrible or they'll turn up and have a stormer in a game. And that's kind of how it's been for their front line this season. And when they all combine together, well, they look a good attacking team. Like we saw at Frankfurt that game. They just absolutely annihilated Frankfurt away from home. But we've also seen them etch out some very tetchy 1-0s this season, no less than last week against Leverkusen as well. And it's that man, the evergreen Rani Khedira, who got yet another goal in that one. I mean, what a player he's been for them over the years, really. He really has. This game kind of reminds me of when they went to Gladbach's rivals Koeln just before Christmas and they nicked a 1-0 in that game. And I think Koeln were in similar kind of fettle to what Gladbach are now. They were looking a little bit uninspired at that point. And for me, Gladbach are really looking uninspired. I just think, even though Tabakovic is still getting the odd goal, he's now up to 11 league goals for the season. And he has to be one of the kind of unsung heroes of this year. But I watched quite a lot of the Freiburg game last week, and they weren't absolutely terribly bad, but it's just uninspired football for me from Gladbach. And as you mentioned, Honorat, who's a player that we've given credit to over the years on this show, he's another one that's been there 3-4 years now, but this season has just not been his year really so far for me. He's not looked that good. Is he a little bit tired? Maybe he feels as though he can play for a better club maybe at the minute. So I'm actually going to go against you, Rory. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Union win. It just feels like this could be the final curtain for Polanski in my eyes.
Yeah. No. Well, that makes complete logical sense that you would do. It's a very fair pick. Okay, moving on to another game that might be slightly easier to call. Is Hoffenheim taking on St. Pauli, Mark? Obviously, the TSG are in good shape, despite obviously dropping some points against Koeln last weekend. But Pauli are, they've won 2 of their last 3 games in the Bundesliga, and they have actually had the wool over Hoffenheim's eyes in the last couple of games. Obviously, the Pokal fixture, and obviously they lost this season 3-0 in the Hinrunde, but they won both games last season against them as well. So might be a bogey team for the TSG.
Yeah, I think the game I'm looking for most, so I remember watching that game. It was a Sunday evening, and they won 3-0, and they produced similar to what they've done most of the season, just a very dominant and excellent attacking display. And yeah, while the Pokal win, I think, was the week after or something even, and it was seen as a massive shock at the time because a lot of people were talking about Hoffenheim as having a cup run this year, and as it happened, it turned out to be a really disappointing defeat for them, really, against what was an off-form Pauli side at the time. So that was a good win for them. But I just don't see it. I still feel as though Hoffenheim are just playing brilliant football. And, even last week against Koeln, defensively, they weren't at the very best, but I thought going forward, they created some brilliant chances and scored some good goals as well. Like they've done almost every game this season, really, as far as I'm concerned. And I just think Pauli away from home, it just doesn't add up, really, at times. I believe they've still only won that one away game, and that was at Hamburg in the derby in the opening away game of the season. And it's not only that they don't win away games, they don't really score or create chances in away games. That's the problem. So for me, it's going to be it's the easiest game to predict to the weekend. I'm going to go for a 4-0 TSG win here.
4-0.
Sorry, Pauli fans, but I just think the TSG is too good at the moment.
Yes, I do agree. I think it will be a Hoffenheim win. I'll say 3-1. Hard to say that, but you never know with these bogey matches, do you? Bogey teams. Okay, moving on then to our top spiel this weekend. Der Klassiker is back. Dortmund taking on FC Bayern Munich in a big clash this weekend. Obviously, this game holds clear connotations for what is believed to be a title race. If there is one, if there is to be one, there needs to be a win for beleaguered Borussia, who are obviously reeling from the Champions League exit. Obviously, a win in this fixture, Mark, would take them 5 points behind Bayern and maybe within a sniff. But yeah, I mean, even searching around this game, I guess if they didn't get knocked out of the Champions League, I guess we would have been looking at this game a little bit more differently with more optimism from the viewpoint of BVB. But it is this sort of thing just hiding over, papering over the cracks of what really is, a squad of players that just really aren't up to challenging with Bayern, and the fact that they're in second place is a reflection of convenience and other sides, just not being as consistent, I guess? And is it thanks to, the coaching of Kovac that has got them to that point, but you couldn't take them any further? With all these delightful things in mind, Mark, how do you see this one going?
Yeah, it's that time of year again. Obviously, the KLASSIKER at the Westfalenstadion. I don't know how you feel, Rory, but it seems to me every time this fixture comes around, it's always on the back of a really hard run of games for Dortmund. It always seems to be this way. I mean, they had Leipzig last week, which they should have lost. Ultimately, there's no question about that. They were easily second best, but as they often do this season, they managed to claw that back from the jaws of defeat and obviously get a point from that one. But then, yeah, the Atalanta, in many ways, you've got to say that result's been coming, unfortunately. I mean, we've talked a lot about how the results have been a lot better than the performances this season, and ultimately the results have been a lot better than the team that they have, as far as I'm concerned. But it really caught up with them, and I watched pretty much all of the game last night, and it was hard watching from a Dortmund and Bundesliga perspective, to be honest. And Atalanta absolutely deserved the win in the end, and it was not a good night for Bundesliga fans across the board. And now they've obviously coming into this game in a last gasp attempt to save the season, really, in many ways. Because, I mean, say they lose this, silverware is completely off the board in basically everyone's mind. Obviously, they're out of the Pokal too. Bayern, though, I think Bayern, for me, they're not playing at their absolute best that they've been this season. I think they were at the best more in 2025. I think they've almost got a little bit complacent so far in 2026. I mean, if you watch the game against Frankfurt last week, I mean, they were brilliant in the early part. They annihilated Frankfurt, but then the second half was a little bit worrying almost. I mean, some of the errors, obviously, that second goal was as bad a goal I've seen Bayern concede in a long, long time. I mean, it was almost like League Two kind of level stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think, is it complacency? There's definitely a level of that, but it could have cost them last week. I think actually Frankfurt missed a half decent chance to get it back to 3-3 late on in that game. So they are going to have to be more careful. Dortmund, can they produce like the level of home performance that they do regularly in the Champions League? That's what they need to kind of reach to have a chance in this game. But I still think it's going to be a good game to watch, as it normally is, this fixture, but I am sticking with Bayern. I've gone for a 3-2 Bayern win, which is going to pretty much put the writing on the wall. It would extend the lead to 11 points with 10 games to go, and let's be honest, it will be pretty much over at that point.
Indeed. DM's gone for 3-0 as well. Also added that there's nothing classic about this fixture, which is a thought that is shared by quite a lot of people, I think, isn't it? When we talk about the name, don't we? Sometimes the Der Klassiker label. But yeah, certainly. There is pressure on Dortmund. I will, I'll sync up. I will back Bayern. I do agree that I think there's been some complacency in their football in recent weeks. But I think this will be the sort of game that will really get them going. So I will say 3-1 to the away side. So yeah, lovely stuff. Moving on then. To Sunday football, and the VfB era are back on. They take on Wolfsburg at home. So yeah, no, very pleasing to see that Stuttgart got the job done ultimately this evening, albeit a loss, but not one that was without its chances or moments for Stuttgart. So I wouldn't be overly worried about that. Celtic are a proud team. I don't think they were ever going to come over to Germany and get absolutely spanked again, to be frankly honest. I think that was their first ever win in Germany as well, which is absolutely crazy. So, congrats to them. But it was a rotated Stuttgart team. It was a team that obviously takes into account that they are, again, focusing in on other things. Obviously, we'll look forward to them playing in the next round of the Europa and who they're due to get, which I need to double check actually. But yeah, to this game, Wolfsburg, they're not in the best of shape, are they? And with VfB's home form being so strong, I would have to back the boys to do a professional job, and I would say a 3-1 home win.
Yeah, I mean, again, the only thing that worries me about Stuttgart in this one is the fixture pile-up, really. I mean, we're really starting to get to the point where it feels like the VfB are never off, never not playing, basically, doesn't it? I mean, they played so many games already in 2026, and there's going to be more and more to come, obviously, with them continuing their Europa League journey. I mean, they're still only into the last 16, and they played, what is it now, 8 games? Is it 10 games?
10 games, yeah.
10 games, and they're only into the last 16. So, I mean, European football is almost like a league of its own nowadays, isn't it? Like, I mean, say they get to the semis, they're going to have played like what 16 games or something like that.
Games.
It's really crazy. Yeah, 16 Thursday nights in a season. Yeah, but anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves. They've obviously got the Wolves to take care of here. One thing that worries me in this one, we have seen the Wolves get a few shot wins over the VfB in recent times as well, like in similar circumstances to this. And I didn't feel as though it was a great performance really from the VfB last week against Heidenheim. But they've got to target this one. I think we've got to win this because, you know, you don't want to be dropping points consistently against lower teams because we know how good Stuttgart have been at times this season, and particularly against the better teams, we see them show up consistently. But that result against Heidenheim worries me a bit. And there is a level of, you know, Wolfsburg. We always say about Wolfsburg, they've got to win a game eventually with that squad, you know, because it's not an issue with squad quality that's the problem. But I'm still going to back the favourites. But it's not an absolute foregone conclusion like some people are saying this one for me. I'll go with a 2-1 VfB win, but it could be a potential banana skin this one. I think if I was doing an accumulator this weekend, I wouldn't be doing this one. I wouldn't put Stuttgart on, but I still think they should get over the line, but surely Wolfsburg are due a big performance soon sometime.
Well, I really hope not. Yes. So yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see if Wolfsburg rock up or not. Moving on to another game on Sunday, which promises to be a tight one. We've got Frankfurt and Freiburg tackling each other this time around. Both in mixed form, wins been coming fairly more frequently for Freiburg than Frankfurt. Obviously, still getting used to new management at the moment. Their head-to-head record, they've had some good games in recent times and played in some really important matches as well, haven't they? I think was it towards the end of last season where they had to play off against each other. Yeah. For European places and things like that. So yeah, this game often brings out good performances in each other. So looking forward to this one. I am finding it hard to call. Both, of course, neck and neck in the table. Both will want European football, of course. That position will be determined by the way that the Pokal winner goes, and if we get that extra spot, the 5th place Champions League spot, and all that sort of good stuff. So being in 7th and 8th right now doesn't mean that there wouldn't be in European football anyway. With that in mind, I am thinking it would be a 2-2 draw. Can't separate these two either.
Yeah, there's normally goals when these sides meet. And as you say, Rory, these two sides have definitely been competing up towards the top end of the division for the last, pretty much since we've been covering this show, really, haven't they? They've always been like top 6, top 7 sides, more or less every season during that time. Last year, obviously, Frankfurt did the double over them, but actually Freiburg got a bit of revenge, didn't they, when these sides met last time. So I feel as though it should be a good game, as you say. I think it's a bit of a free hit for the SCF, really, because, nobody really expects much from them in the league. I think most of their season lies on the cup competitions, really, ultimately, this season, because there's basically no way they're going down. Relegation's completely off the table. And as you say, they can, enjoy themselves, really, for the last 11 league games and mostly focus on Pokal and Europa League, really. So having said that, I think I have been quite impressed with what Roryare has done at Frankfurt so far. I think he's definitely arrested the poor form. I thought the second half they were really good against Bayern last week, and as I said, they could have nicked a point at the back end there. Admittedly, part of it was because Bayern just completely and utterly took the foot off the gas, but still, I'm going to go for them to get a win here. I think they'll get a 3-1 win here, but it should be a good game as it usually is between these two sides.
Yep, agreed. Then finishing us off on Sunday evening promises to be a quite an intriguing game as HSV take on RB Leipzig. Mark, Leipzig travel north, and I really think that this promises to be quite a tight game in the Volksparkstadion. What do you think?
There's a lot of good games this weekend, but this is a really good finale for the weekend. It's like a proper fixture, this one. You've got one of the great returning traditional giants against Germany's, you could say, most or second most hated team, depending on who you talk to. But yeah, I mean, from a football perspective, it's two good teams. I think there's a lot of quality players on show in this one. We've mentioned those names for Hamburg a number of times in recent weeks, but they continue to impress. Vieira obviously getting the leveler last week against Mainz. The issue with Hamburg is they're not completely out of a dogfight yet. They're 6 points above the bottom three, but obviously things could change by the time they kick off next. They could even be only 3 points clear by that point. So, but I don't have any fear at all that Hamburg are going down. I mean, for me, there's absolutely no way they're going down. The way they play, the fight they've shown, the quality they've got. For Leipzig, it's been one of those weird seasons. It's been either really, really good or really, really bad. And even within one match, you could see both sides of them at times. I mean, we saw it last week. That first half, I thought they were brilliant, absolutely superb. And they were for most of the game, but there seems to be a weird lack of confidence in the side in terms of seeing results through. And I think they're really struggling with the goalkeeping position. I mean, Van der Voort has never been able to really kind of make that position his own. Obviously, Gulazzi has been getting more and more injuries as his career, as he gets well into his 30s now. Defensively, they've not been able to find a solid lineup, and I think that could be their Achilles heel against a Hamburg side who are really starting to create chances in games now. So I'm going to go for a bit of a turn up for the books in this one. I'm going to go for a good game and a 3-2 Hamburg win in this one to finish the weekend.
Finish the weekend with a bit of a shock. Okay, yeah, I like it. I like the prediction. I will go with a dulled down shock version of what you said. I'll say 2-2. I think this could produce some good football and some interesting moments for the last game of the weekend. So very much looking forward to that. Lovely stuff. That's us for this evening then. So just a quick reminder that we'll be back tomorrow morning for Bundesliga Fantasy Football Show with Runa from Bully News, obviously our partners on the show. So make sure you check us out there and bring your questions. Otherwise, Mark, you can do the honors.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed what you've seen tonight, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. Don't forget as well to check us out on social media. We will be getting to more games as the season progresses, particularly once the weather warms up a little bit as well. As it is doing, by the way, at the moment in the Bundesrepublik. So, definitely going to be more, particularly at Nuremberg, but probably some more ground hopping by the time the season ends. So thanks a lot, guys. It was a pleasure again. Join Rory and Runa tomorrow morning, and I'll personally see you again on Monday for the reviews. So see you then, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Take care.